AI is already reshaping financial services. It's improving efficiency and client experience, but it's also accelerating cyber risks in ways firms can't afford to ignore. You don't need to become a technologist, but you do need confidence that your firm is protecting client data in a world where attacks are faster, smarter, and harder to spot. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dayalani. Artificial intelligence is moving from experimentation into the operational core of banking, insurance, and fintech. It is also now influencing fraud detection, claims handling, underwriting, and internal productivity. Over the next 5 years, the central question will no longer be whether financial institutions should use AI. The more difficult question will be whether they can scale AI without weakening trust. Let's welcome Yogesh Jadhav, CTO at Choice International, to understand what leaders need to know about AI and cybersecurity in financial services. Hi, Yogesh. A very warm welcome to our podcast today.
Hey, hi Priya. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Great. Yogesh, I think when we talk about AI in financial services, we have already seen a lot of advancements or breakthroughs in this particular landscape. But again, I think something that most of the leaders are discussing today is it is, I mean, the use of AI is also opening up new avenues for attackers to leverage the vulnerabilities in the systems and complete their malicious activities. So, we will be discussing more about this, and we will be very happy to gain your insights on this particular topic. But before that, we would want to know more about Choice International, its specialization in services, and alongside that, a little bit more about you, Yogesh. How has your journey been till date, and what exactly do you look after at Choice International?
So Choice International is a listed entity. Primarily, it's into financial services, but we also have the tech unit that I lead, as well as a government consultancy unit. But the major of our business is focused in the BFSI sector. I basically lead the group company that is Choice Tech Lab. This company houses all the technological responsibilities across the group. So we have roughly 250 plus engineers working for all our group entities, as well as we work with government across India to, for their technology requirements. My role in this organization, I would say, how it is structured is quite unique. We are not just responsible for building technology, or you can say being on the other side of the business, wherein business gives you those requirements and you build it as a tech platform. It has been an responsibility to own the business around. You have the responsibility to grow the business, leveraging technology to grow that business. So basically, I joined this organization 13 years back when the organization was still growing, and founders had a very strong belief in having an internal tech unit which can help us scale in a rapid pace. And that is where I joined this organization 13 years back. We built a team from 5-10 members to now a 250-member strong team. And we have been building all our internal stack in house. And and like I said, the unique piece is being to work alongside business and be partners in their growth. So all the decisions that we make are not just driven by technology, but also how it impacts compliance, security, and the overall P&L of the organization. So I think that has been my role in this organization for last 13 years.
Great, Yogesh. Thank you for that crisp overview about Choice International and also highlighting about your journey and your role at the company today. And I think we're really excited to unlock more such insights from you as we move ahead in our conversation. So, Yogesh, I think what was once a technical concern is now a broader resilience issue with the potential to disrupt operation, erode confidence, and expose critical vulnerabilities at scale. Now, in this context, trust can no longer be assumed. it must be actively built into how controls are designed and operated, making it a central question of resilience. Overall challenge, I think, has intensified as Gen AI reshapes the threat landscape. It is changing the economics of cyber deception, allowing attackers to prepare campaigns faster, tailor them more precisely, and present them with greater credibility. So, how has the cyber threat landscape changed with the rise of generative AI or intelligent automation, particularly in the financial context?
I think so, highlighted major of the points in this thing, like how it has changed. What I feel is it's not about, identifying new type of attacks, but it has been more about the, being able to run these attacks, faster, and very precise and personalized. So, you understand in the Indian financial space, you have seen that phishing is one of the major very common attacks
Yeah.
across the ecosystem. It's not about someone sitting there hacking your phone. It is more about random calls, SMS has been pushed out so that
Mm.
people fall for those. And like you said, the attackers have been able to highly personalize it now. Some stat, like IBM research says that previously building such attack used to take maybe 16, 20 hours, but now it has dropped down to just minutes, right? So
Mm.
attackers can adopt it, personalize it, or
Right.
even translate it. It's not just about English. You would get those messages and conversations which is very polished in your local languages as well. So like you said, it's about the timing. It has become very rapid in terms of the attacks that have been done, and it has been highly precise and personalized.
Mm.
And on the flip side, what I see is as an organization also, you can leverage that strength in terms of AI to also basically improve your complete defense pipeline. So for example, for us, when we are building anything from build to ship, previously it was the security was kind of an afterthought, right? It was an compliance angle, it was an overlay over what we used to build. But right now, using AI, we are able to basically embed that into each of the steps that we do across the organization. So you have an AI overview on the code that has been pushed to the Git. Then you have an pipeline gates that would identify any possible vulnerabilities into your system, not just level of code, but also the way you have designed the complete UI, the flow, the communication to the users. And previously this was very manual, and you had to had a very good talent pool to identify these things in the complete pipeline, and majorly acted as an friction rather than value for the organization. But leveraging AI, we have seen that this is we are able to give a very real time feedback to all the users, so even developers, all the users across the system, of what can go wrong, and what are the steps they can take to mitigate that across the ecosystem.
Mm.
So like I said, yes, definitely you're seeing a very great change in how AI has been leveraged to attack your systems. It also gives us an opportunity to look at how it can be leveraged into our ecosystem to
Mm.
strengthen it against this rapidly changing attack surface.
Right, right. Yes, I think I agree with you, Yogesh, that of course, generative AI has changed the economics of cybercrime because attackers can now automate and generate highly convincing phishing attacks, create those sophisticated deep fakes, and even develop malicious code at a speed and scale that wasn't possible just a few years ago. And I think, just like you mentioned, that cybersecurity is no longer just about protecting systems or considering it the afterthought. It should be embedded across each function, right, starting from the design stage, and ensure that the entire resilient security framework evolve as quickly as the technology itself. Now, that brings us to another critical aspect of this transformation. We all agree that AI is reshaping financial services, improving fraud detection, and financial institutions and banks are thriving on data-driven investment strategies. But again, innovation comes with complexity. This is because financial institutions face 10 key challenges when implementing AI. Now, after talking to a lot of leaders on our podcast, Yogesh, some of them have highlighted either it's algorithmic bias or cybersecurity risks that we are discussing right now. There is lack of transparency, you have regulatory hurdles. So, according to you, Yogesh, what are the biggest security challenges financial institutions usually face when deploying AI systems?
I think so. The fundamental thing about AI is that it's a non-deterministic system, right? And when you're running a financial institute, everything has to be, audited. Everything has to be, tracked, approved, and there's quite a lot of compliance around how you, operate and do transactions or anything around your ecosystem, and right. So when you talk about AI system, primarily they are non-deterministic systems. So that means that every time you give the same input to those system, you will have a very unique output, right? And that provides a very unique challenge when you're working in the BFSI sector, because very hard. So consider you are using any AI agentic platform wherein you are giving goals to that agent. To achieve that goal, that agent would be doing n number of steps, and testing them, building guardrails around them is, I think so, biggest challenge as an BFSI sector, because it's very hard to identify how an AI agent would achieve that goal, because it can take n number of options or paths to achieve that goal, right? So I think so once you start understanding the core problem, because all of the problems that you mentioned comes because of these are non-deterministic system. And I feel as an even the complete ecosystem around AI is not yet matured enough to, when we say we can build guardrails around this complete thing. But what exactly do you mean by guardrails? How effective are they across all those use cases? I think so. It's still something that is, the organizations and the industry is still learning about it. I think so. Once you understand this risk of a tool that is non-deterministic, then you start building around it, like how do you leverage it without bringing any risk into the ecosystem, right? So all the risks that you mentioned in terms of opening up new vulnerabilities in AI, you have compliance overheads, regulatory frameworks, all those things are because this is a very new system. So any algorithm or any tech that we previously built, it
Mm-hmm.
was very easy to test them out, right? We had all the test cases, you had the valid inputs, invalid inputs, and you had a very, once you tested it, you had an output that was verified, and you were pretty sure that it could work in this way, maximum of the time in the ecosystem. But
Mm-hmm.
bringing AI and non-deterministic system, I think so it has took that challenge to the next level. And when you understand that, then you build around it, right? So if you ask me how would choice basically work around those challenges, so what we say is we treat AI as another individual in the organization. So you can say
Right.
it's like hiring a junior team, right? So when you
Mm-hmm.
hire a junior, you understand the risks that come with it, and all the compliances that you put over it. So you give that an identity, you give them access controls, you create an auditable trail, whatever that they are doing. You have review mechanisms, right? You have managers reviewing all what has been done. You have maker checker systems in the system. So when you look at AI as an individual, as an fresher into your system, and then apply all the traditional mechanisms, these things, I think you have a very good visibility in terms of what's happening. So rather than looking at what AI can do to achieve the goals, we are looking at what is the blast radius for that AI, right? What it can access in the system, what it can modify in the system, right? Being able to see that, having an audit trail, like you said, regulatory frameworks, they already need that whatever is happening in your organization has to be logged, right? It has to be reviewed. There has to be a maker checker system, right? So having human in loop, having those audit trails across what's happening in AI, I think so that has been for us as choice. It has really helped us, to bring AI into the ecosystem with reduced risk.
Right. And I think what makes this particularly interesting is that securing AI isn't just about protecting the data anymore. It's about safeguarding that entire model itself, ensuring the integrity of AI-driven decisions, and again, maintaining compliance with evolving regulations. So organizations have to rethink security from the ground up and build resilience into every stage of the AI life cycle. And as AI becomes increasingly autonomous and deeply integrated with critical financial operations, the conversation naturally shifts from deploying AI to deploying it and governing it responsibly. And my next question is something related to this, that uh, AI is moving definitely faster than most governance structures can keep up with. I mean, we all know it's driving efficiency across every sector, but the policies governing it haven't kept pace. And poorly governed AI can again reinforce buyers or expose companies to regulatory violations that carry legal and financial consequences. What governance frameworks you think organizations should establish to ensure that their AI remains transparent, explainable, secure, and compliant?
Yeah, so taking the example that I talked about for organization, like choice that we are implementing, right? So understanding, so like I said, giving an identity to every AI that or every AI agent that is deployed across the organization, right? Um, So once you give that identity, you're able to identify all the AIs being used across the organization, all the use cases. Then build around it. Like I said, considering it as an any other individual across the organization. You build guardrails, provide access controls, keep all actions as auditable trail across the organization. So the basic, fundamentals
Hmm.
really helps us, build upon, right? So any new governance that might come in, right? When you have these fundamental guardrails in place, you can definitely build over them, right? So when you already talk about not trusting the AI, right? So any action it takes has to be reviewed by someone. You already baked in this into your system from day one. So any governance talking about how it has to be reviewed or how it has to be audited is already in place, and you just have to make changes across it. And when it comes to changes, I think so. Once the regulatory framework starts keeping up with the technology, I think so. Again, we have seen that embedding that governance across the pipeline, right? Like you said, when you have that pipeline and embedding that security across the pipeline, we have seen that even governance, when the governance is majorly into policies and reviews and audits, it has a very less impact. But when we have seen that you build governance across your ecosystem, right? Every action that has been taken, right, in your ecosystem is been audited immediately in the governance framework, right? It adds an very immediate real time feedback loop for everyone in the system, rather than having an monthly or a quarterly audit which reviews all the actions in the systems and then identifies gap compared to the the policies or governance framework that exists. And we have seen real time feedback really helps bring value into the ecosystem, as well as every stakeholder is aware of the impact of their actions. So building those fundamental guardrails and then embedding the complete governance policy framework into your workflow, these two things have really helped us mitigate the challenge around AI and the governance.
Right. I think um, with those proper guardrails in picture, I think it's again very important that financial institutions not just invest in deploying AI models or AI solutions, but rather invest in strong governance frameworks today, as they will be in a better position to scale AI responsibly while minimizing the consequences that usually follow up, which comes when you don't have a strong governance framework or when you don't comply with the regulatory landscape. And
Yes.
I think so. The interesting challenge here for institutions is that how they can maintain that particular oversight or monitoring without slowing down innovation. And I think that brings us to our next question. We discussed earlier also that with the advent of Gen AI, fraudsters have access to tools that are more sophisticated and scalable. So we are seeing everything. We have these AI generated phishing campaigns or deep fakes to synthetic identities. So these are very highly personalized engineering attacks, and they can easily bypass those traditional security measures. So we already know that AI is changing the nature of financial fraud. What capabilities you think financial institution should prioritize to stay ahead and avoid getting being victims of such AI frauds?
So, like we discussed previously, as an when you're talking AI being used, to build sophisticated attacks, real-time personalized attacks. Uh, I think so. At an organization level, also we can, you know, uh, basically leverage AI to, replicate those attacks. Or what we can say is, we do drills across the organization, right? You have, failure drills, you have attack drills that you do across the organization to, be aware of what your organization and its preparedness is when real attack happens, right? And when you start leveraging AI across these drills, we have seen that people are well aware of how sophisticated the attacks could be, and you are also able to build confidence into your own systems and the security mechanisms, right? So for example, the phishing thing, when you have your team go through that complete phishing attack that is very sophisticated, you're
Hmm.
basically, building that awareness into your teams of how these attacks are conducted, how realistic it can sound, how personalized they are, as well as when you're exposing your system through controlled drills in terms of how it is able to identify, mitigate and take action. So you have your own, we have our own SOC team for choice, and we have seen that this team needs to really look for that needle in haystack kind of a thing, when the way their alerts and attacks have been done across the ecosystem, you really have to identify the one alert that needs your attention, right? And
Hmm.
again, leveraging AI to cut down the noise, identify priorities for that team.
Hmm.
I think so this is how has helped us. So like you said, the attack industry is adopting, but for us as an organization, we also need to leverage that technology to prepare a complete ecosystem for these attacks.
Yeah, yeah. Right, and I think your overall response highlights that when we talk about how we can stay ahead, it's more about investing in or deploying those solutions which are not just AI driven, but they're intelligent, proactive, and continuously evolving with the fraud prevention strategies. And I think institutions need that ability to identify those subtle patterns or respond instantly and anticipate emerging threats before they can cause any significant damage. And these all capabilities are something that artificial intelligence has been giving us since the longest time. And we are of course expecting more such advancements with AI capabilities that can help institutions to um, tackle the evolving cyber threat landscape more effectively. Great. So, Yogesh, before we move towards the future, I would like to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Now, my next question is something which I want to talk about the overall Indian landscape. India has evolved from being primarily a technology services hub and it is now becoming one of the world's fastest growing digital economies. Uh, I think AI adoption is also accelerating, and digital transactions are continuing to grow at a very unprecedented pace. So, with that, cybersecurity is no longer just an IT concern. I think it's becoming a very fundamental pillar of economic resilience and trust. So, how do you see India's financial ecosystem contributing to the next phase of global AI and cybersecurity innovation?
So, like you rightly highlighted, India, I think, is one of the biggest, digital transaction ecosystem. I think the volume that our systems have seen in terms of UPI transactions or even the instant transfers or instant payments, I think so rarely any of other world organizations have seen, or any of those big economies have able to achieve or seen this in the ecosystem. So I think so that is the biggest strength. The transformation from providing those back office service or manpower to being the biggest ecosystem in terms of digital platform, digital financial platform is our strength. And I think, like you said, AI ultimately needs, a huge amount of, data that it is trained on. And I think our ecosystem, the strength of our ecosystem is the the scale and the amount of data that we produce in terms of even the attacks, the variety of attacks, as well as the variety of transactions, and how even NPCI and other organization are you know are able to process this transaction, not only uh, in terms of making them successful, but also identifying real time frauds across this ecosystem. So I think for us the scale that we have been able to achieve is the biggest strength, and that would be the biggest contribution to the next AI wave. The world would be looking at us, how we are able to you know be prepared for all those attacks, how we are training our systems, how the organization and even the compliance the governance framework. Like you have seen RBI bringing very innovative solutions to curb the digital fraud ecosystem, right? When you add a new account, you have an cooling period, right? Adding that friction into that ecosystem to avoid frauds. You have I think our country was the only one wherein OTPs were quite compulsory. You had mandate registrations, you had unique payment solutions been built here. I think so the scale at which we are, and the way even I feel the governance or the regulatory bodies have been encouraging innovation and exploring innovative solutions to adapt to this scale. I think that has been our biggest advantage, and the world would be looking at us like, when these new threats emerge, how the ecosystem is able to adapt to it, and then those solutions will become de facto solutions across the world.
Yeah. Yeah, true. And I guess when we talk about India's financial system, I think it's not just supporting the digital transformation of the country, but it's increasingly becoming a catalyst for innovation with global relevance. And it's I mean, I'm personally really glad to see how India has progressed in terms of ensuring digitization across different industries, and its positioning as a hub for solutions that can scale well beyond its borders as well.
Yes.
Great. So before we conclude our conversation today, I think throughout our conversation we have explored how AI is reshaping the financial services, and it's enabling more faster and data-driven decision making. But I believe technology alone doesn't just determine success. There are a lot of things that organizations need to focus on to ensure that any uh, technology or solution they are deploying, it should give them those measurable outcomes for which they had initially deployed that solution. So one last question for you, Yogesh, is if you could offer one piece of advice to business leaders, who are preparing their organizations for the next decade of AI-driven financial services, what would it be?
So I think so. The core advice from me would be, don't just buy into the hype of AI, or don't just buy AI for the sake of it. First, we have seen you need to build the discipline or the framework for that AI that can work in your organization, right? So, just to give you an example of how we leverage AI when in our coding, or you can say the complete SDLC life cycle. So you already know Claude and all those models are quite efficient in terms of generating code and building effective systems. But you know uh, we have seen we had to really train the manpower and also build an framework that had governance, security, as well as operational workflows embedded, so that the team can effectively leverage AI, right? So you might have heard about how the industry has been aggressive in terms of adapting AI, and the side effect of it, right? Token maxing is one of the side effect, wherein very big tech companies basically burned through their complete AI budget in just few months, because they targeted that every manpower has to use X amount of tokens, or maybe X amount of salary in terms of token. And that didn't really add value into the ecosystem, right? It was just using AI for everything and anything in the organization, that just basically burned through the budget without adding any kind of value in the ecosystem. So what we have seen is it's not about pushing the organization to adopt AI because you know the fear of being left behind. It is more about building those fundamentals and the right discipline in the organization, so that you can definitely leverage AI to bring value, but also be you know being able to adopt as it changes, right? You have seen models being changed rapidly in last few months, and you
Right.
know having that agility to really change them
Hmm.
based on what value it adds in your ecosystem, being able to plug and unplug those system, I think so any leader who is looking to embed AI into the organization should really first focus on the framework, discipline, and the complete training, even training piece of the thing, so that you know you really bring value out of that, as well
Right.
as are able to control it, govern it, you know
Definitely.
manage your risk as well, those things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And again, I think the earlier where, organizations or institutions, financial institutions struggled to access AI, that is not the struggle anymore. I think the main challenge that they will face is how they can remain secure, explainable, resilient, and trustworthy under that real world pressure. And the future of trust, if I would say, is not just a technology issue. It is a question of the operating model, your governance, and the entire leadership discipline. Thank you so much, Yogesh, for your insights today and helping us understand about the entire landscape of AI and financial services. Of course, also about the cyber attacks and the cybersecurity landscape, and how it is important for organizations to build that concrete operational capacity through secure systems, control decisions, and responsible use of intelligence. Thank you so much, Yogesh. It was
Thank you.
lovely chatting with you.
Thank you. Same here. Thank you.
Thank you. So, this is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion around AI in financial landscape, its impact around the different cybersecurity landscape, how different trends are evolving, and what different strategies institutions can deploy to tackle the evolving cyber threats and to ensure that they are resilient against these attacks and evolving ahead of them. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes, and you can view all our previous episodes on Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Thank you so much.